What is up, everybody? You're listening to Caleb Marcus Podcast. Today I'm talking to my friend from Kuiper College, Moses Kayuni. He's from the country of Malawi and just moved over here for school about 5 years ago. We had a great conversation, super interesting, especially if you're an American and don't have much exposure to outside cultures like me. And yeah, I learned so much, and I think you guys are going to as well. It was a really cool conversation. Thank you to Moses for taking the time out of his day to have it with me. Hope you guys enjoy. Peace. But yeah, so let's go with a short intro on just who you are, and then we can jump into Malawi.
Okay. So my name is Moses Kayuni. I'm an international student here in the United States from Malawi. I work for Fifth Third Bank as a business analyst. And yeah, I love my job. It's a lot of numbers, but I love doing that.
How long have you been working there?
I've been working there for almost 8 months.
So basically, since you left Kuiper,
Yes.
graduated from Kuiper, and then went to Fifth Third.
Yes.
That's awesome. What does that entail? Like on a, what's like the main idea of your job?
So a business analyst, basically what we're doing is solving people's problems. And what I mean by solving people's problems is, like, for example, it's the deep section. We worked directly with client care and how do I say that? We work with IT people. Like, for example, my department is the wholesale processing department.
Okay.
So let's say there's an incident with one of our clients, people that we work with. Let's say there's a thunderstorm that destroys some of the processes that they use to get their deposits and money and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
They report to us, to our department, that there's a problem, and then we create a ticket with the IT people to help fix that problem. Let's say if it was an application problem or if it was something else. So we work hand in hand with IT people and then client care advisors who get information from our clients on what's going on.
Okay. Has COVID made it a lot harder for you guys, or has it not really changed much?
The nature of my work does not really require me working from the office. Okay. So I've been working from home. Okay. For most of my job. Okay. And I'm able to accomplish what we're supposed to do. It's mostly project based. Yeah. So as long as we complete the projects that have been assigned to us, like, I don't really need to be in an office. It gets tricky because, like, some of the things that we have to do, some of the projects that come in are projects that none of us sometimes know about. Yeah. So in that circumstance, you need an in-person kind of conversation with your manager to be able to understand what the problem is. But we are forced to use Microsoft Teams and WebEx. Okay. For communication. So it's like a Zoom kind of feature where we communicate with managers and clients. But yeah, it's tricky. It would have been easier working from an office setting, but it's a new norm. It's a new norm now.
It is for sure. And then what do you so you say you're going to grad school in or next year potentially. Yes. What are you going for?
So I'm mostly thinking of continuing with analytics,
Okay.
The only difference is that I want to study analytics in a healthy care setting.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'll be managing numbers, dealing with numbers in a hospital or healthcare setting.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
All right, let's go into Malawi here. So I might ask some totally ignorant questions, so you just have to forgive me on that. But when I think of, as an American, when I think of the history of America and sort of our education system or whatever, we basically all know like 1776, the Declaration of Independence was signed by these people, and we kind of know like the founding of our country, right? And so I was thinking about this today. For you guys, I know that I don't know about all of Africa, but I know a good portion of Africa was colonized by different European countries, right? And so for you growing up in Malawi, did you learn about your country's history and kind of who had it before and when it became independent and all of those type of things?
Yes.
Okay.
So Malawi was a British colony.
Okay.
It initially was called Nyasaland. Nyasa means land by the lake. Okay. And that's what our colonial masters named it, because Malawi has almost 30% of the country. I may be exaggerating, but a huge chunk of our country is water. We have one of the largest lakes like in Africa. So a huge part of the country is made up of that lake. Okay. So when we were colonized, they named it Nyasa land, which simply means land by the lake. Right. So we were under the British colonial masters for most until 1964. That's when we got our independence. That's crazy. So it's recent. It's not that. That's like civil rights movement. Yes. Wow. That is insane. Wow. Okay, so that means you probably have, relatives or at least older people in your community or whatever that still remember that. Yes, we have a few people that were involved even in the fight to gain independence, still living. Wow. So that was basically your guys' civil rights movement in a way. Yes. What do you guys call that? Like a revolution or something, or? It's mostly referred to like there was a guy who was heavily involved in this civil movement, I might call it. His name was John Chilembwe. He died, and we have a day that we remember him as our hero. He's one of the guys who mobilized people to fight for independence. So it's just a fight for freedom. That's usually what we call it. Yeah. And was that did that end up being a physical thing, or was it more like the civil rights movement in that it was nonviolent and kind of like a protest sort of thing? Oh, it was violent. It was violent. Yeah, wow. There was an ongoing war, and it was tricky because the British had guns. Malawians, we did not have guns. We had like poison. We had bows and arrows, and fighting against guns was tricky. So a lot of people lost their lives. Oh my gosh! During the fight. So in 1964,
you have Malawians fighting with, clubs and bow and arrow and all that kind of stuff against the British with
guns,
recent military technology.
Yes.
And you guys won.
So I'm not sure if I would call it
a win. Yeah.
But we won our country.
Okay.
So we won a country from them. It wasn't like the whole British government, like the whole British country fighting.
Yeah.
Malawi. No, it was the way that worked, like the way colonization worked is that we had these people in the country in control of our land, in control of agriculture, in control of our offices. And because they had the British had the money, they would trick the Malawians. Okay, let's buy this portion of your land. In exchange, we're gonna give you this. So it was that situation where, out of ignorance and being powerless, they convinced us to sell a lot of our possession, a lot of our land, and so they were pretty much in control
of
the country. So if it is your country, as long as it is run under the terms of other people, it is not your country. So when we talk of our independence, we mostly refer to the fight that the Malawians put to claim what was initially ours.
Right.
I was talking of the land. If you visit Malawi, even to this very day, if you visit Malawi, most parts of the places like around near the lake, like most of the facilities there are run by foreigners because they had taken that away from the people, or they did not actually take that from the people, but because during the time of the war for independence and all that, Malawi was we were nomads mostly. Like a huge part of the country was nomadic. So hunting, farming, and we were not very industrial like the British were. So when they came, because we were very far behind in terms of industrialization and all that kind of stuff.
When did they first come? Do you know that?
In the 80s or in the 1800s.
A long time. Yeah,
a long time. So they took possession of the land.
Yeah.
So they would put in buildings, and when we reached at a time where we were like, okay, this is our country, but we have nothing to show for, because most every building and all these other things, the education system that was there favored like the rich, and most of these rich had connections with the British. So, for example, there were a few people that were benefiting from this, because it wasn't just like every Malawian was under this British rule. There were people that were benefiting from the school system. Like some people's kids would be taken to Europe and other places to have a better system of education and all that kind of stuff. So when these people came back, like our first president, Kamuzu Banda, when he came back, he actually started in the United Kingdom. When he came back, he was one of the guys also who was helping. I was like, okay, we'll have to take what belongs to us. We have a country, but we have nothing to show for, because all these buildings and all these things are not ours. So the fight for independence was basically claiming what had been taken from the Malawians out of ignorance and out of
like manipulation almost.
Yes, manipulation. And because like I said, we were very nomadic people as opposed to industrial people. Way behind technology then. So when we reached that stage, it was too late. Or like, oh, this is too late. I think we have something before everything, because otherwise we would have had a country run by the British. And like the way that has influenced a lot of our culture to this very day. Some things are positive. We have like tea, and we have all these, a lot of food that we have right now was from their influence. So that's a good part of it. Like, because they brought different forms of farming from what we had previously. But then if you look at our education system is British. People learn in English when they're like from grade 4, grade 5. So there's a good part of that and the bad part of that. The good part is, like, for example, myself, I'm here in the United States studying. Actually, I wouldn't have been here studying if I did not get an education system that taught in English. You know what I mean? Otherwise, it would have been hard for me to come here and then study. So those are some of the benefits. But then what that also means is that we ignored our nativity, like our language, our culture. Like right now, if you go to Malawi, most people actually almost think English is a measure of intelligence. Like English is associated with being educated, educated. Like if you can speak good English, people in the villages, in the suburbs, they will respect that. Oh man, they're just all those stereotypes. You're rich, you're very educated. And that's because that's what's been born from ignoring what was ours, like our culture, our language. And it becomes tricky in that, for example, when we're studying sciences or biology, a biology course, or mathematics, we study these things in English. So a native English speaker, the way they're going to understand that, and someone who is learning English as a second language, it's going to be very different. Like we're studying things in a different language. Like our lab, like the terminology for things, they're all in English, and our professors, we grow up learning different languages. So it's like we have to learn more, twice or as harder as the other people. Like other countries that are most French-speaking countries, they study their language, they study these like physics, literature, sciences, biology, they study them in their native language. So it's easier in that way. But when you're studying that in English, your whole country now is built under that influence. So it's like a lot of our culture, there's a lot of westernization. So like I say, there's some good things with it, but there are also some bad things with that.
Yeah. Wow. That is fascinating. I didn't know any of that, really. I knew that obviously different European countries had colonized a lot of parts of Africa. I didn't know it was so recent though. So once you guys got your independence, what form of government did you guys have right after that? And is it still the same to this day?
No. That's actually a really good question. Our first president, he was very educated, very smart guy. And when he was in power, actually our currency, which is called the kwacha, was 1-to-1 with the British pound. Like that's how strong our currency was.
What's your currency called?
Kwacha.
Kwacha. Okay.
So it's a Malawi kwacha. Kwacha is, when a rooster makes that noise early in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's pretty much saying it's day. Because during the colonial rule, it's like we were in darkness. We were in darkness because we didn't know what was going on. So we named our currency the kwacha because it's like we have woken up. We are awake. Yeah. So that's what our currency means.
Wow. That's awesome.
So answering your question, we had a one-party system. When this guy came in power, he was pretty much a dictator. If I'm gonna be honest,
okay,
he was pretty much a dictator at the very beginning. But there are things sometimes in life that requires that kind of leadership.
Yeah,
like at the stage that we were at that time, we needed a dictator.
Okay.
So this guy knew what he was doing. I'm not saying he was the only educated person in Malawi, but he had done his education in England, like I had mentioned, and he was well known, and he built a lot of infrastructure that still stands to this very day. Like some of the main roads, highways that we have in Malawi were built by him. So when he became president, he declared that he was going to be president for life.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
imagine if Trump did that.
Yeah. So that was what happened. It's like, whether they like it or not.
Yeah.
I'm going to be a president. Because I know you guys, if I bring in someone else here, they're going to sell to his assumption was like, okay, they're going to sell this country back to the British, or they're going to do something that are messed up, that the economy is going to be messed up, which did happen. Once we got the democratic system of power, that was, I think, in 1990 or something like that. Not very long time ago. That's when this guy, his name was Dr. Bakili Muluzi, he was our second president. He fought with other people. It was like, no, we need a different system of governance. We need a multi-party kind of system. So we have like 5 parties that run at once. There are 3 of them that are very common. It's like how you guys have the Republican Party and the Democrat Party.
Yeah.
We have the Democratic Progressive Party. We have the United Democratic Front. We have the Malawi Congress Party, and we have like these 3 are like the most famous ones, and they usually win when an election comes in. And our elections were very tribal the past few years. So if you are from the northern part of Malawi, you know who you vote for. If you are from the central part of Malawi or the southern part of Malawi, people vote for representatives from their region. Yeah. So Malawi is divided into 3 regions: the north, the central, and the southern. So it was very tribal until recently. Like we have a pastor now who is a president, but he mobilized the youth. They voted for him. So like it's a little different this year. This past election was a little different because it was a representation of most of Malawi. Wow. But so that's how it started. We had a one-party system, and then this other president came. Oh, we need the multi-party. We don't need a dictator in Malawi. He came. Now, dude, I'm not kidding. Our currency is $1 is close to 730 kwacha. $1 is equal to 730. So if I have,
it used to be 1-to-1.
Yes, it used to be 1-to-1 with the pound. The pound is stronger than the dollar.
Yeah.
It used to be 1-to-1 with the pound when that dictator was in power, because schools then were private, but not most people were able to afford schools because Malawi, the majority of people lived in the villages. So when this new guy came in, he made all schools free. That's one of the things that he did. Oh man, it was a good idea because we had more educated people, but there was no money for the government.
Okay.
So no money for the government means the country is screwed.
Yeah.
So now you're talking of, if I have $1,400, if I go back to Malawi and exchange that, I am a millionaire. No kidding.
Really?
If you have 1,400 and you go to Malawi, you're automatically a millionaire.
Okay.
That's how.
So going off that, how much? I don't want to go on too much of a tangent. I'm going to save that question. I'll save that question. I don't want to go too far off, but keep going.
Yeah. So that's what I was saying. It's like there's goodness in the multi-party system, but like I was saying, there's sometimes times in a country, and I think this is actually needed in most of African countries. I may be wrong, but that's just my assumption. From some of the nations that I've seen that are doing so well, their president has been having a dictator kind of mentality, because a lot of governments are very corrupt. And to remove corruption, you need a dictator that knows what they're doing. Not someone who's just going to screw people up. We had Magufuli, the Tanzanian president, he just passed recently. One of the best presidents in Africa. We had Gaddafi, I think he was killed, or the Americans did something to him. But one of the reasons that they destroyed him, because he was smart.
Okay.
What I mean by smart, they were almost scared. They were almost scared of him. And what I mean by this is he did not tolerate outside nations like Europe and all these other to just come in Africa and exploit our resources.
Yeah.
And he had plans to have a single currency for the entire Africa, a single government. It's something that a lot of people were against, but me personally, I would have voted for something like that, to have one single president, like how the United States is, with representatives in so every country, instead of having a president of their own, they should have someone representatives. So I believe in a collectivist kind of governance where different parts of Africa are working hand in hand. They have their special things, but they have a unified economy.
And all of Africa would be one country.
It would be different countries.
Okay. But
it would be different
but
countries, but they would have one currency.
Okay.
So instead of having the kwacha, the reason that some of the currencies are so devalued is because they don't have that much buying power. Because you have other countries that have all these resources, gold, copper, like all these things that people come and take and make phones and all that. We have a lot of resources in Africa that's exploited. If we had a single currency, like the currencies from each nation would carry that power with it, and we'll be trading at a better scale than we do right now.
Yeah, it would be closer to that 1-to-1 rather than the 1 to 750.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
But yeah.
Okay, so in Malawi, let's say I have, $1, a US dollar. I go to Malawi, then I get, 700.
Let's say 730 kwacha.
730 kwacha. What can I buy with that?
The last time I was there, I've been gone for almost like 4-5 years now. I know the currency, we have had times when the currency had to be devalued. And so like the buying power is not as strong as it used to be. But 750 kwacha can buy you a meal.
One meal.
A meal for a family of 2-3.
Okay.
Like you can have dinner.
Yeah.
You can have lunch with just $1.
Okay.
Not the most fancy. We don't believe in fancy anyways, because like we eat a lot of what you call it healthy options, like the beans, the vegetables, the fish. For us, that's our staple food. That's what we eat on a daily basis. Like most of the things that we eat, we grow them. So and they're the cheaper options there. Here, you know how it's the opposite. Like healthy options are more expensive.
Right.
Junk food, that's what's expensive.
Yeah.
Everyone can afford, like not most people afford eating things like burgers. Like people eat burgers, but it's something that we do not every day. It's something that we do as like if I invite you on like we will go to a meeting or I have a date with someone, or say I just want to treat myself, I've just received my salary, you go out during those times, but like we don't normally just go out for fast food. Fast food is considered like a luxury. It's a luxury.
Okay.
Kind of thing. So you can buy quite you can buy something with $1. And actually most of the population, I would say an estimation of at least 60% of the population don't make more than $5 a day.
Wow. Okay.
Between $5 and $10. Like I'll have to revisit my math, but yeah. So like $10 is a lot of money.
Okay. Wow. That's crazy. Okay, I want to go back to something you said earlier about you believing in like a more collectivist sort of society almost, and like government maybe. And it's just funny because when you think of, I mean, America is almost the complete opposite of that. There are some people trying to, push us that way, but it was almost like America was born on the complete opposite, like individualism. You have your own personal rights. No one can encroach on those sort of things, you know. So when you come over to America, and how old were you when you came over here?
So when it comes to age, it's 5 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay.
I have 2 birthdays. Like, I don't want to go into that. I think
Okay.
I've talked about it.
Okay.
So like in a lot of places in Malawi, like in simple ways, when I was adopted, they didn't know what my age was.
Okay.
So they had to just assign an age to me.
Okay.
Then I found out before I came to college that I was actually 2 years younger than what they thought I was. So like I have 2 birthdays. I have one in July and then I have one in November. So one of them is like my adoptive birthday, and the other one is my actual birthday.
Yeah.
So it's something that I haven't told a lot of people, only those that are very close to me. I think I told you. I think I told you.
I think you have told me before, yeah.
But I came 5 years ago.
How did you figure out your real birthday?
Because I visited my biological dad.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So the reason that I was adopted was because I was adopted, but I had a biological dad. There were some cultural complications, which could be a story for another time, that caused my adoption.
Okay.
So I never lived with my biological dad, although he was there. He is there until today. So I lived with my adopted parents since then. So like one time before I came to the US, I was like, oh, I'm going to the US. I'll be gone for a really, really long time. Let me go visit my biological dad and maybe say goodbye. You never know. He's an odd, not very odd fella, but he's still my dad, you know.
Yeah.
So I paid him a visit, and I was just looking through my pictures, and then I came across my birth certificate. It's like, who is this one? I was like, yeah, that's you. That's when you were born. This is the hospital you were born at. I was like, so I've been living a lie all my life. So dude, that was me in my 20s when I found out that. And I was adopted when I was about like 8, 9 years old.
Wow.
So I had lived close to 15 years or more, not knowing what my actual birthday
was.
Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, I looked at that. I was like, oh, that's actually interesting. So, but the challenge is I had already made my passport. I had already made my driver's license. So all my official documents are 2 years older than what I actually am.
Wow. Even
I cannot
now.
change it. Yeah.
So your driver's license is 2 years older. Wow.
Yeah. So and the thing is, like, because my official name, everything that I am is tied to that, I just like, I can live with 2 birthdays.
Yeah.
It doesn't hurt. It's a number at the end of the day. It's just
that is hilarious. Were you like kind of a little bit happy to find out that you were like 2 years younger though? Is that like a good thing?
It depends. Like, I just felt a little bit relieved. I was older in most of my classes. Like, I was one of the oldest even here, like here in the United States, because your school system is set up with ages. Back home, you can be in your 20s, let's say, 20s, 25, and still be in secondary, high school, still be in high school. It's normal. It's normal because some people just start school at a later stage in life than it is here. So like here, I just felt like I was older than everyone, you know that feeling. It's too odd. So like to be shoving off like at some 2 years is like, I'm old, but not that odd.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. That's so funny. All right, we kind of got off track, but back to the individualism of America. And so when you came over here 5 years ago, and started learning about that, and some of the history of America and whatnot, and sort of this individualistic mindset that we have, that I can imagine kind of clashed against your culture and what you believe is sort of like the right thing, so to speak, and I was just listening to a podcast the other day that was talking about how we as Americans think that our way of doing things, sort of the individualistic, freedom for all, liberty for all sort of thing, we think that's the best way. And we should almost impose that, not almost, I mean, we do a lot of times impose that on other cultures and peoples, to kind of live up to our expectations, right? And so you have different expectations and what you think would be best. So maybe just explain, like, when you first kind of met this notion of individualism and kind of what you thought about it.
So there is what I can really say is that too much of everything is always dangerous.
Okay.
Like, there's beauty, and there's beauty in a collectivist culture when it's taken in the right way. But it can also be deadly when it's overdone.
Yeah.
The individualistic culture is the same way.
Okay.
It's very different. And I'm not if I'm honest, I'm not a very big fan of an individual culture, because again, like, I was raised in a collectivist setting, and we rely on others to be at a better place. So when I came here, it was hard. It was hard in so many ways, because it was just culture shock. Like, for example, even like disciplining kids, like how kids talk back to parents, like how kids have freedom to sue their parents when they beat them hard. Like, I grew up being spanked, like,
yeah.
So like, like I said, there's good and bad. Like, some parents, I'm glad my parents smacked me when I was wrong, because it brought me to the person that I am right now. But there are other circumstances where you hear parents overdo that. They beat the kids too much.
Yeah.
There should be a fine line that, okay, you should be able to discipline your kids, but your kids are not your prisoners at the same time that you can just abuse them as much as you want. So like, coming up with that fine line is important. But with the individualist culture, it's like, when there's no fine line on that too, it becomes, I think, problematic. It's almost like putting kids in a state where they almost like have control of their life, which I don't think that's how we're made. Like, there's a reason that you have parents. Like, that fine line is important. But like, back to your question, like, when freedom accomplishes the right things of doing things, it's a beautiful thing. But too much freedom at the same time can be poisonous also. So like, coming up with the fine line on what you should do and not do, that's where it becomes tricky. And I'll be honest with you, like, one of the hardest times for me being an immigrant in the United States was this past year.
Okay.
With everything that was going on. It's almost like here people are defined. I'm not saying that's the case, but it's almost like people are defined by a party system, like what they support and what they do not support.
Yeah.
Again, that should be like I was telling you, we have like almost like 5 parties back home. People get so hyped when it's voting time. People get messy, but I don't remember like a single time where people could legit become enemies and not talk to each other because they support a different party from another party. And it's like that kind of tense is only during like the week of voting and around the time. And again, like I don't mean to say that it doesn't get messy. It does get messy. It happened even in Malawi. It happened where there was leaguing in the prior election to the one that just happened, where the pastor was elected. There was a lot of bad things that happened during the voting, because people are people at the end of the day. They will try to mess up with the systems, and that happened. It was messy. A few people actually lost their lives during demonstrations and all that kind of. So there's always that. But like when you talk of the majority, there's not that much like hate that can almost put a nation on a map that, okay, there is something going on, something wrong going on. And again, I credit that to the individualistic culture, because like at the end of the day, you shout with someone, oh no, I'm going to go with these guys. This party has a better president than this. At the end of the day, you are together, you are at a football game, football, soccer for you guys, like you're bumping shoulders, celebrating, going if you drink beer, going for beer, and even things like beer. You know how some people here, like for beer, it's like you see a person just themselves with their wife just drinking beer. Home, like when you drink beer, it's a collectivist thing. Like when people go to hotels, like to watch a soccer game. People go to hotels. Like my dad, every weekend he was gone.
Wow. It's
not that he doesn't have a flat screen at home. He has a nice flat screen.
Yeah.
Good reception. He's not gonna watch his team at home. Where is he during the weekend? He's at a hotel. Why? Because the way we watch our soccer is we watch it with noise. People screaming,
yeah,
making jokes, making fun about the other team and all that because we're a very, very collectivist culture.
Wow.
So that's the beauty of it. So like, yeah, when I came here, it was different. Like even in churches, like I played bass for my church, but I almost felt like church was a platform that I would just go to show off my talent, praise God, and then leave.
Wow.
I never felt that family kind of like back home. After church, people hang out. Like within the week, we go places, do things together. It's not just about going on the stage. And even in prayer, like here, you almost feel like, I almost felt like if I'm praying loud, someone next to me is watching me. Like, what, is this guy crazy? Is he mad? Or back home, you just blast in, whether it's tongues, whatever they think it is, what people pray, people cry, and no one is gonna judge you.
Wow.
You just do you. Like that collectivist mindset. Here it's almost like you're a lot worried about what the person next to you is going to think about you and how you're going to act.
Yeah. Wow.
So yeah.
That's fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay, so I don't know how much time you have. If you want to cut it there, we can. I do have one more thing that I'd like to talk about, though. If you
I have time, yeah.
Okay. So we've kind of talked about this before, but I'd like to revisit it. Some of your hunting stories of when you were a kid, or at least younger, maybe like teenage years, and like you were saying, the food that you eat in Malawi, like there's not a McDonald's around the corner, right? Like a lot of times you have to grow your own food and then go fishing and hunting and all of this kind of stuff, you know? So back home, what did fishing and hunting and growing food, like what did that all look like for you guys?
It was the norm. It was our life. And I was raised in a family of 25 or something kids.
Wow.
And when I say this, I'm not joking. We grew our own food. So one of our staple foods is maize.
Yeah.
So we make something like a paste. It's called nsima with the maize, the corn.
Okay.
We would grow that like acres and acres of land. My dad had some good amount of land. And I remember my dad waking us up early as 5 a.m. And we have what we call digging hose.
Yep.
Yeah. We would have one for every kid. And they would give us, according to our age, would have a huge chunk of land that we had to, you know how you guys have tractors that till your land? And
yeah.
So that we had to do that with our hands manually. Like,
wow.
I would go early in the morning because it's dark, but there's no sun because it's so hot back home.
Yeah.
That was like the best time for us to do that. Or later in the evening, would go outside and dig for like 2 hours or so. Like, we would have a lot of carrots in our hands and all that kind of stuff. And on top of that, I loved gardening. At some point, I grew vegetables for my entire family. And I even had enough to sell to families outside of my family. So by my family, I'm talking of 25 kids.
Yeah.
And we have vegetables in the afternoon and we have them in the evening as well.
Wow.
So like we have them for lunch and we have them for dinner. So to have vegetables for 25 people, that's a lot of vegetables. And there was surplus that I actually sold them to my family. I just didn't give them for free. Like my dad encouraged us to do that instead of begging for money. Like he encouraged us to grow our own food. And I just loved farming. I would grow cabbage, I would grow spinach, lettuce, carrots, tomatoes, a lot of onions, like all that. And
wow.
We had no water. We had to dig a well. Like we had to find some land. And this is not a machine. This is not a machine drilling.
Yeah.
Your hands.
Oh my gosh.
I had to dig a well that I would use to water my vegetables. So there was the digging part every day, twice a day, early in the morning and late at night, not very late, like around 6, 7 when the sun set. I would have to go water my vegetables. Yeah. And like this, because sadly in Malawi, we only have one rainy season. So if the rainy season is past, it has to be manual. It has to be It has to be your hands. But it was good. There were benefits of doing it off season, because like when it's the rainy season, there are a lot of pests and diseases because of the rain. Some water has chemicals and all that, so you had to have pesticides. But during the off rainy season, like that's when you could manage your growing. So like, yeah, farming. And that's my family. There are some families that are fortunate, like if you grow up in the city and your parents are well-to-do, it's almost like living here.
Yeah.
Some kids never experienced like this, but about 65% or more of the population, that's a life that they have to go through. There are very few rich people that have their parents make food, have electricity. I never had electricity at my house until I was like in my late teens.
Wow.
We had no electricity. We used candles.
Wow. That's amazing. And then with all that being said, and then you look at kids in America now, you have to just be like, oh my gosh, you guys don't even understand real life.
You're so spoiled. I just look at people and say, oh man, you're so spoiled. But it's like, it's life. And it's funny because like some of the people that I've actually encountered, some of my good friends, they look at that and they're like, I wish I was born into a rich family. I was like, oh my word, dude, you have no idea what you have. But like, it's different for everyone, you know?
Yeah.
We all have all these experiences and all these differences. So sometimes when I look at people, I try as much not to judge.
Yeah.
Because I know we experience life differently. We all have our own battles, and God gives each person a battle that they can be able within their reach. So like, yeah, sometimes if I'm honest, like I judge quite a bit. I'm like, dude, you're so spoiled. What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah. I remember when Elizabeth, she's been to Rwanda twice now, but she had just come back and she went to Hope College in Holland, and she went there with the school trip where they studied the Rwandan genocide and kind of everything that went in there. And she comes back, and we were still in school at the time, and I was kind of like joking around with one of my friends that I had this really easy class at school where I didn't have to try that hard, right? And I was kind of joking around that it was like a funny thing. Oh, I have this class where I don't have to try that hard. And we went on a walk, and I could tell that, something's kind of wrong with her. And I'm like, what's going on? And she just absolutely rips into me that I wasn't taking my education serious at all, because she had just come from seeing young boys and girls having to work themselves to pay for their own school. And then not only that, and then walk 5 miles to school and from school. And I'm here talking about how I'm laughing because I have such an easy class. You know what I mean? And I'll never forget that. That gave me a lot of perspective. And of course, sometimes I do, still feel sorry for myself, even though I have all this electricity and food and all this kind of stuff. But yeah, it's just amazing to think about how perspective changes your life, Yeah. Wow. What about hunting?
Hunting, I think from the story that I told you last time, I wasn't really blessed with that skill, because most of the stories that I have, oh man, they're not good. Like, I think I remember, I don't know if I told you, like this other time we went hunting for deer. My uncle, my brothers, and a few other guys we usually hunt with dogs and clubs.
Okay.
Yeah, so we'll throw a club at a deer or something like that. Yeah, so...
And you try to hit it in the head or something? Or you just try to hit it?
In the head and then it goes down. And these guys are really good. Like their target is top notch. I was not that.
How big is the club? How big would you say the club is?
Like this big.
Oh, so like
the top part of it will have a lamp like this, and the stick. Then you just throw it.
Wow.
Or would use rocks as well. Would use rock and bricks and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, so this one night we cornered a deer. It was game over for that deer because we had dogs that surrounded it. I'm talking of like at least 8 to 10 people. We surrounded it, and then we had dogs. So it knew that it was surrounded. And so usually when the deer knows that something is wrong, it looks around the people to see where the weak spot is. Dude, I should have not gone there. So we start, and this guy, my uncle, his name was Singhala. I still remember him up to this day. He's still alive. Yeah, Singhala. So good, very good at target. He gives these signals that I have no idea what's going on. And before I even knew it, they had thrown the clubs and all this. And this stupid deer goes straight towards me. Straight towards me. And then it does something like this, like here, and then jumps. And I screamed like a girl, a baby, or something. I screamed so loud. And we missed this meal because I was like, what the heck is it doing? And there's a saying in my country about the deer. They say, Yanganadito mwendo nchisulo, which translates to look straight at the eyes. The feet are made of metal because the deer's hoofs, when they hit you, they're like metal. The amount of pounds it has is like, it's very strong. So it's basically like a warning, like beware. Yeah, I remember that saying. And then we missed that, and then we just went catch. We used to eat mice a lot. A lot of people eat mice there. It's one of the common food. So we went to catch mice, and that I was good at. That is not hard because we just trap them, smoke them, and then some of them will be running, coming out. They make like different escape holes. So they'll just come from nowhere. So it's like, what they do is they have a main opening, a main door, and they have an exit. But what they do with these exits is they make the hole, but then they can feel that when they are right at the top, they don't dig, so there's no opening. They leave some ground on top, so you'd not know. Yeah. That's why it's an escape route. So you just see mice like coming from everywhere. Where did this come from? Where did this one come from? But yeah, so what we'll do is like when we're looking at the horse, when we find the main opening, we'll go around like poking the ground, and sometimes we'll be lucky and find some of these escape holes and all that. But we'll also hunt birds, and there's a lot. Yeah, birds, fishing. I didn't do a lot of fishing. One of my brothers did, but we didn't, like I said, 30% of our country is made of the lake, but we were not very close to the water. So yeah, I didn't have a lot of chance fishing.
What about, didn't you say you guys hunted an ostrich?
We have those. No, I don't think I told you that we got one.
I thought so because because like you would be in the woods and then you guys had a torch. Maybe I don't know if it was at night or something, but then you, like maybe 5 people would walk with the torch and then would kind of make the birds or whatever walk.
Oh, it wasn't exactly an ostrich. I can't remember what its name, but they're very close. They're very close related to ostriches.
Okay.
But yeah, would hunt for those birds like at night, mostly like at night, like have the torch because you can see where they walk at night, and then but we had to use lights to blind them. Like when you just put like lights straight at its eyes and it's at night, like most of them are most like half asleep, would catch those. They're not exactly ostriches, but they are within like the same family.
Wow.
They're called the most common ones were they're kind of also related to guinea fowls. You know what a guinea fowl is, but they're so big. Yeah, they're actually called guinea fowls.
Oh, guinea fowl.
Yeah, a guinea fowl.
Okay.
So
I'll look that up.
Yeah, they're different types of those. Like they're so big.
Wow.
We call them kanga. Back home we call them kanga. And then we have the turkey, huge ones as well.
How many languages do you speak?
So speaking and listening, I would say 3.
Okay.
Which I'm really good. Like, because some languages within the African context, they're very similar. They're almost like dialects, but I can hear what people are saying.
Yeah.
Even if they can speak or respond.
Wow. That's awesome. Well, dude, I feel like we could pull a Joe Rogan and easily go like 3.5 hours, but maybe we can save some for next time. That was awesome. Thank you so much for spending this time with me and catching up and answering all my questions. That was awesome.
Anytime.
Yeah, that was awesome. Thank you so much, man.
Anytime. Good catching up with you.
Yeah, good to see you. All right. I'll see you later.
All right. Good night.